How to turn any woman on without touching her isn't about tricks or pickup lines. It's about presence, intention, and the subtle language of desire. A woman is most turned on when she feels seen, not just looked at. It begins with confidence, the quiet kind, the way you walk into a room, the calm certainty in your voice, the way you hold eye contact just long enough to intrigue but not overwhelm. It tells her you're grounded, self-assured, and unshaken by the need to prove yourself. Emotional intelligence is your greatest advantage. Listen, not just to her words, but to what's underneath. Respond in a way that makes her feel understood, not analyzed. When she feels emotionally safe and mentally stimulated, her body follows. Speak in tones that invite curiosity. Tease her mind with depth. Make your words feel like slow drips of honey. Intelligent, seductive, and just mysterious enough to leave her leaning in. What most men overlook is restraint. Don't rush, don't overshare. Women are drawn to mystery. When there's more to discover, more to fantasize about, show your direction in life, your purpose. Be the kind of man who doesn't need her, but chooses her. That choice, when intentional, is incredibly arousing. And then there's energy, the way you look at her, not staring, not hungry, just controlled intensity, eye contact that says, I see you, and a silence that says, you feel me. That moment when the air thickens, when the space between you hums with possibility, that's the kind of tension that turns her on before a single hand is laid. It's not about touch, it's about presence. Master that, and her body, mind, and attention are already yours. Confidence without arrogance is one of the most magnetic traits a man can possess. It's not about being the loudest in the room, the flashiest dresser, or the guy who constantly boasts about what he has or what he's done. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need validation because it already knows its worth, and that's exactly what draws a woman in. When she senses that you know who you are, what you bring, and you're not trying to convince anyone of it. A confident man walks with purpose, speaks with clarity, and owns his space not to dominate it, but to exist in it fully. He doesn't shrink when others shine, and he doesn't compete to be seen. Instead, his energy says, I belong here, and that calm self-assurance is deeply attractive. Women don't respond to men who constantly seek approval or hide behind ego. They respond to the ones who feel complete on their own. Arrogance, on the other hand, comes from insecurity dressed up as pride. It overcompensates, it talks too much, it interrupts, it needs to win. A man who is arrogant may get attention for a moment, but he won't hold it for long, because women see through it. They feel the performance. Confidence invites, arrogance repels. When you show up grounded, not looking for validation, but open to connection, you become unforgettable. It's in the way you speak with curiosity instead of assumption. It's in the way you listen, not to reply, but to understand. It's in your ability to be both assertive and respectful, bold but not aggressive. That balance is rare. That balance is powerful. True confidence doesn't announce itself, it radiates. And that radiance creates a pull, a silent gravity. A woman feels safe in it, intrigued by it, and drawn to explore it. Because when a man isn't trying to prove he's enough, he already is, and nothing is more attractive than that. Emotional intelligence is the invisible thread that connects a man to a woman on a deeper, more intimate level. It's not about being overly sensitive or reading her every mood perfectly. It's about being aware, present, and responsive to the emotional tone of the moment. A woman wants to feel that you're tuned in not just to her words, but to her energy, her silences, her shifts. When you can sense what's going on beneath the surface and respond without judgment or ego, you immediately set yourself apart. Women are emotional creatures by nature, not because they're irrational, but because they process the world in layers. Mental, emotional, intuitive. A man with emotional intelligence knows how to navigate that complexity without trying to fix it or control it. He listens more than he speaks. He doesn't rush to give solutions. He allows space for her to feel, to be, without needing her to tone it down or explain it all. That kind of presence is powerful. It builds trust, and with trust comes desire. It also means being aware of your own emotional state. A man who can stay calm when things get tense, who can express what he feels without turning it into blame or defensiveness, shows strength. That self-regulation creates a sense of emotional safety, and safety is the foundation of attraction. Not because she wants you to be soft, but because she wants to know you can hold space for her without collapsing. A woman feels turned on when she feels seen and emotionally understood. That doesn't happen through rehearsed lines or smooth talk. It happens when you notice the subtle change in her tone and ask, "Are you okay?" Or when you say, "You seem distant tonight, want to talk." Those small moments build emotional intimacy, and that intimacy is the doorway to deeper physical and mental attraction. Emotional intelligence isn't loud, it doesn't need to be, it simply shows up with presence, patience, and an open heart, and when a woman feels that, she relaxes, and when she relaxes, she opens. That's when the real connection begins. Verbal seduction is the art of using words not just to communicate, but to arouse, to provoke thought, to create a subtle tension that lingers long after the conversation ends. It's not about being vulgar or obvious, it's about speaking with intention, rhythm, and nuance. A woman responds to how you say things just as much as what you say. She wants to feel the energy behind your words, the restraint in your tone, and the curiosity that makes her want more. The most seductive men don't rush into compliments or overdo the flattery. They use language like a slow dance, controlled, teasing, and unpredictable. It's the man who can ask an ordinary question in a way that feels personal, even charged, who captures her attention. "What made you smile today?" Sounds simple, but said with the right tone and the right pause, it becomes a mirror reflecting that you're paying attention, that you want to know her, not just entertain yourself. Verbal seduction also thrives on timing. Knowing when to speak and when to let silence carry weight is just as important as the words themselves. Silence can be powerful when used with intention. A pause after a well-placed statement allows the tension to breathe, lets her mind fill in the space. That space is where anticipation lives, and anticipation is the gateway to desire. Storytelling is another powerful tool. The way you describe an experience, the detail you give, the imagery you use, it can all pull her into your world. It's not about impressing her with your past, but making her feel something while listening. If your words create emotion, you become unforgettable. But most importantly, verbal seduction is about control. You don't say everything, you don't always give her a straight answer. You invite her into the mystery, you lead her just far enough to keep her wondering. It's in the way you say her name, the unexpected compliment, the playful challenge. You make her think, feel, imagine, and that's where the fire begins. In the end, it's not about saying what she wants to hear. It's about speaking in a way that makes her want to hear more. That's real seduction, and it starts in the mind. Mystery and restraint are two of the most underrated but powerful tools in creating deep, lasting attraction. A man who reveals everything too quickly leaves nothing to explore. But a man who holds just enough back, who allows a woman to wonder, to lean in, to ask questions, he becomes unforgettable. Mystery isn't about playing games or being distant for attention. It's about having layers that unfold slowly with intention. It's about not showing all your cards at once because you understand that curiosity is the fuel of desire. Restraint is control. It's knowing that just because you can say something, do something, or escalate a moment doesn't mean you should. The man who can hold himself back, not because he's afraid or unsure, but because he's deliberate, is the man who builds tension in the most magnetic way. You don't need to touch her to make her want you. You need to know when to pause, when to step back, when to say less. That space you create, that's where her thoughts start spinning, that's where the craving grows. The mysterious man leaves her with questions, not confusion. He's clear in his intentions but subtle in his delivery. He's open enough to be trusted but reserved enough to be intriguing. She senses there's more beneath the surface, and that sense is what pulls her in. The idea that there's more to discover keeps her attention far longer than any grand gesture ever could. Most men try to impress by oversharing, over-explaining, or constantly trying to prove themselves. But the man who knows himself doesn't need to do any of that. He knows his presence is enough. He allows silence to speak for him. He gives her glimpses of his mind, his desires, his past, but never all at once. That's the art of restraint. Attraction thrives in the unknown. It lives in the space between what is said and what is hinted at. It dances in the slow build, not the instant reveal. When you master mystery and restraint, you don't just capture her attention, you keep it. Because now, it's not just about who you are, it's about who she imagines you could be, and that imagination is where true seduction begins. To lead with purpose means to move through life with intention, clarity, and direction, qualities that naturally draw a woman in without you needing to force anything. A man who knows where he's going, who makes decisions with confidence and doesn't waver at every distraction, radiates a sense of control and certainty. That kind of energy is not just attractive, it's magnetic. Women aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for a man who knows who he is, what he wants, and how to carry himself through the world without apology. Leading with purpose doesn't mean controlling others or dominating conversations. It means taking initiative, whether it's planning the evening, steering a conversation with depth, or setting the pace emotionally. It shows in how you handle pressure, how you treat others, and how you respond to the unknown. When you operate from purpose, your actions feel aligned, and that alignment builds trust. A woman can feel when you're not just reacting to life, but creating your path. That makes her want to follow, not because you're demanding it, but because your energy invites it. This doesn't have to mean having your whole life figured out. Purpose isn't always about success or status. It can be as simple as standing by your values, knowing what kind of relationships you want, or being decisive in moments that matter. When you act from a grounded place, even your silence has direction, even your pauses feel intentional. Women are drawn to men who aren't swayed by insecurity or external validation. When your words and actions are rooted in something deeper than ego, she senses it. She relaxes into your presence because she doesn't feel like she has to lead the emotional dance. You've taken that role with confidence and grace. Leading with purpose is about presence. It's about knowing that every moment with her is an opportunity to deepen connection, to guide the energy without overpowering it. You don't need to prove yourself, you just need to be clear in who you are and where you're headed. That clarity is rare, that clarity is powerful, and that clarity is exactly what makes her feel safe, intrigued, and undeniably drawn to you. Gaze and energy are silent forces that speak louder than words, and when mastered, they can turn a woman on without a single touch. A man's gaze, when intentional, controlled, and connected, can ignite something primal. It's not about staring or making her uncomfortable. It's about looking at her in a way that says, I see you, not just her beauty, but her depth, her presence, her essence. The right gaze holds attention without force. It lingers just long enough to make her feel chosen, not chased. That kind of look stirs something within her. It creates a charge, an emotional reaction that stays with her even after you've looked away. But gaze is nothing without the energy behind it. Energy is everything. It's the way you carry yourself, the calm in your movements, the stillness in your presence. A woman can feel your energy before you even speak. If your energy is scattered, anxious, or needy, she'll sense it instantly, but when your energy is grounded, confident, composed, and quietly intense, it draws her in, it creates a pull. She might not even understand why she's suddenly more alert, more aware of you, but she feels it. The man who understands energy doesn't need to be the loudest or the most animated in the room. He knows how to hold space, how to create a kind of unspoken tension just by being fully present. When you're truly in the moment, not distracted, not performing, you project an authenticity that can't be faked, and women respond to that deeply. Pair that energy with a controlled gaze, and you've got a combination that's unforgettable. Look at her like she's the only woman in the room, but never like she's your only option. Let your eyes communicate desire, but also discipline. Want her, but don't reach. Let her feel that you could close the distance, but you won't, not yet. That restraint, combined with presence and intensity, creates a magnetic field around you, one she'll want to step into, one that makes her wonder what it would feel like to be touched by a man who can make her feel so much, without touching her at all. That's the power of gaze and energy, and it's irresistible.